Welcome into the Hustle Show podcast. We got college football, NFL for you. Some picks coming to you, big game breakdowns, best bets as well. Kelly Stewart, Joe Raineri, Chris Thurston. I am Drew Martin. We are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Hustle at checkout takes 10% off. Also powered by WagerTalk.com. Best free live odds in the industry. Check out the live odds tab, wagertalk.com. It gives you sides, totals, anything you're looking for. Going around the horn here at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, Kelly Stewart. We're starting live just for you. Kelly, how you feeling?
Well, I'm just laying back in my desk. I'm texting. I couldn't get a 5, 4, 3, 2. Mics are hot. Drew Martin bets. I just look like a bum over here. It's been a very long day. You and I just got done doing every game on the board. We did bet on it earlier with Joe. Joe stabbed himself in the eye. That's why his eye is still watering. It was pretty funny. I made fun of CT bets like 8 times on the show. It's been a long day. I'm ready to do the hustle, give out some best bets, and hopefully those equate to winners.
Yeah, for the next 20 or 30 minutes, guys, we are giving you a lot of picks here. Joe Raineri, part of it, stepping in for Adam Trigger, one of my favorites in the industry. Joe, how you feeling, buddy?
I'd be doing good, except Trig mushed me last night. Love Dayton. And then he's got to be like tweeting from the stands there at the Thomas and Mack Arena going, oh, no, UNLV. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. UNLV boat raced them in the second half late last night. Our favorite degenerate special there, Drew. Not like a little 12 o'clock college basketball last night. And Trig shit all over it. So thanks, Trig. Appreciate it. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for that. And
missing
the show, just enjoying Vegas, have at it, buddy, on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Last, certainly not least here, Chris Thurston at CTBets16 on Twitter. CT, how you feeling, man?
Drew Martin bets, I'm doing pretty well. And I was thinking right before we went on, I was driving home and I was like, oh, shit, Trig's not on tonight. I'm going to get to talk so much more. I'm not going to get annoyed. This is going to be an unbelievable show. My good friend Joe is in his spot. I couldn't wait for tonight. He's been driving me nuts. He called me on the way home. He goes, I got to tell you something. He goes through this list. This was all irrelevant. All irrelevant, Trig. Go back to your games. I'm doing good. Drew Martin bets. Cashed my 2 best bets again on this show. Second straight week. I swept the board. And not sure if you guys saw, but I got involved in college hoops. First one of the year last night. I gave out Kansas plus 1.5. And that flipped to -2 right before tip. And they got the job done late in the second half, Drew. So I'm doing pretty good and ready for the upcoming week, man.
On the hardwood, already getting going. A lot going on. NFL, college football, college basketball. We're going to be hitting them all going forward here, going through March Madness. That is the hustle on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Feel free to reply below if you're watching on replay. And also in the live chat, come and join us. Any games throw out there. We'll try to hit as many as possible. Chad, first in. Shout out to you. So we got a pretty much open format tonight. CT is what I gathered. Usually we get an email. This time it's just a text, which is fine by me, man. So it's just big game breakdown and then best bets at the end.
Yeah, going into a big game breakdown around the horn. And then there's actually a lot of people that responded with some games that they want to touch upon.
Yeah.
I sent a couple of them to you, Drew. I know you got an opinion on a couple. I think I do. I know Joe and Kel will too. So want to go in the big game breakdown, then the games, and then we can close out with best bets.
Yeah, Drew, the reason why we have to have an emailed formal rundown is for Trig. It's not for the rest of us. You think I read that email? No, I appreciate CT doing it, but I know it's not for me. So that's why it's just a simple text, big game breakdown, best bets, like just 2 things. And this is just now turned into a bash on Trig Fest. So it's no different than any other Wednesday night.
He's not even here. And who wants to start us off? Big game breakdown. CT, you usually got an NFL one, man. You're 2-0 in them the last 2 weeks.
I'm leaving my NFL for best bet, Drew. Yeah. But I do have a college game that I'm going to give out for big game breakdown. And not sure if Cal is going to like it here, but there's something about playing in Morgantown that hasn't really agreed with the Wildcats. They've lost their last 3 visits there to Morgantown, and they've tended to fall behind pretty early. Then they dig a deeper hole, trying to come out of it, and it doesn't fare well for them. This West Va team, they're scrappy, and they've been especially tough at home. We saw them. They've had some nice wins at home. They beat Baylor on a Thursday night a few weeks ago. than most recently last weekend. No, it's not the OU we're used to seeing year in and year out, but they got a nice win over Oklahoma, 23-20. And I think this is just a really a classic letdown spot as you got a desperate West Virginia team who's 4-6 as the home dog. They're fighting to stay alive and make a bowl. And K-State, they're fighting to maintain the important number 2 status in the Big 12 and punch their ticket to the Big 12 championship. It does look like Adrian Martinez is going to be out. Will Howard will be pulling the trigger, which I think is a huge upgrade for the Wildcats. So they do have that going for them. But I just think this number is a little too high, Drew. It opened around where Kelly and I were talking about it in the car on the way home from the K-State Baylor game, around -4.5, -5. Drew, it's got bet all the way up to -7.5. I just think this number is a little too high here. I think JT Daniels and the Mountaineers will stay within the number. I wouldn't be surprised if K-State wins this game by 7. I'm grabbing the 7.5 with the Mountaineers here.
So if it is JT Daniels, I actually disagree. If it's Garrett Green that starts for the Mountaineers, who came in the second half last week against Oklahoma when they had only scored a field goal and ended up getting them that win, that scares the shit out of me. If it's JT Daniels, lay it. You don't even need to worry about it.
More pulling the trigger.
Oh, I don't know. I think I smell a little side bet between me and CT Bets here. I got to catch that over 6.5 wins with K-State. I have no skin in the game here other than I need the Wildcats to just get out with a win prior to playing KU. Back-to-back road games is never a good thing, but for some reason, K-State does really well in that role. I lost my side bet to Trig last week, so he does get to have his wedding at the day of his choosing. Unfortunately, for me, the Bears blew a 24-10 lead. So hopefully the Wildcats don't do the same. And CT, think on it. We'll have a little side bet, little punishment or something funny, if you will.
Sure.
Like I got to shotgun 3 Vivas live and try not to vomit. I don't know.
I like it. I'm always up for a nice little side bet.
I don't know about shotgunning Vivas, though. First of all,
I'm
they're so
kidding.
good.
I tried to shotgun a Viva in Waco. It didn't work out very well for me. Ended up with an entire soaking wet sleeve. Don't ask. Listen, you know, at one point in time, I used to be a professional, and I just fell off. I'm just getting too old.
Yeah, it doesn't go down as easy. That's for sure. I mean, CT, you know a lot about it. Does anybody shotgun those? It just doesn't seem like the right fit.
Well, I don't know what, Drew. It's wild. There's one person in the entire world that I know that does, and I'm friends with the kid. Kelly met him.
Really?
His name is Chris as well, Chris DeFran, and he's my golf partner.
Oh, it's Chris DeFran.
In the summertime, and he shotguns them all the time, and he thinks it's hilarious. He'll make me take a video, and he makes me send them to his my brother. My brother loves them. He says it's the best shotgun he's ever seen. He's the only one, Drew. Only one I know.
I mean, let's be honest. Viva's supposed to be a little classier. It's
I agree.
People that are fitness or low calories. And there I am, you know, trying to relive my glory days. Don't ask.
Yeah, it's supposed to be healthy-ish. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
healthy. I mean, Drew, listen, 88 calories is way
better
healthy.
for you is the term we use in the industry, Drew.
Better. What's that?
Better for you.
Better for you, yes.
Better for you, yeah. Getting back to the gridiron here, guys. Actually, one game I like big game breakdown-wise. In the NFL, I got a stat for you from Mark Lawrence here. This one really popped off at me. NFL games in which the home team is an underdog have gone to the under 16-42. Think about that. 16 overs, 42 unders when the home team is the underdog. There's 5 of them this upcoming week. So obviously that was my short list. Love to bet totals in the NFL. And the one I picked out here, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Both of these two teams have totaled 6-12, over under. So 6 overs, 12 unders combined, both of them under trending. And really it's because of the numbers. Obviously it's getting colder up north in Pittsburgh. So that's where I have circled for my big game breakdown. Just that overwhelmingly huge 16-42 under trend with this home teams as the underdog going to the under. I think there's something to that. That's what I'm going to play. We obviously know the Steelers offense isn't all that great shakes. And to tell you the truth, Cincinnati's been overpriced to the over as well. Joe Burrow, the whole bit. It hasn't been an over trender. So I'm going to go under in the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game for my big game breakdown. High water mark here It's 41 pretty much across the board. So low total, I'm going under. That's my big game breakdown. Next up, I guess Joe or Kelly.
Joe, are you going to talk about Oklahoma State, or do you want me to?
No, you got Oklahoma State. I'm going to do a different one that I'm going to throw up.
He stole my best bet from Bet on it. It was supposed to be Oklahoma State. I said, that's fine. I'll give out a different best bet. I'll save this one for the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember Joe was on the hustle today. I'm like, now he's going to steal it again.
Nope,
all jokes aside, looks like Spencer Sanders will be back for this team. How do I know? Because Joe told me he was. So I sent Joe a text this morning asking, because that was a game that I had on my radar. Now, listen, Oklahoma, what is this team? This team has just been on a little bit of a roller coaster ride all season long. And by all means, they are the healthier team here. Maybe they are the better team here. The Sooners, though, man, did they just hit rock bottom last week? Is losing to the Mountaineers rock bottom for this team? I think it might be. You would think they'd get up big here for this Oklahoma State team. But Spencer Sanders came back last week against Iowa State, was able to squeak out the win. Gundy as an underdog. That's what I'm looking at here. We know how great he's been here. And I've taken them all 3 times they've won, 2 times so far. This is going to be the 3rd time, and they're going to win this one outright as well. Is there going to be bedlam after this year? I don't think so. I mean, maybe they schedule it, or maybe they're like as a, like an early September game. But this looks like the last one, at least for a couple of years, because we know those college football schedules are already out. So I'm taking the over the touchdown. I can't believe this is over a touchdown. This has been ridiculous. Now, I know Oklahoma does traditionally well in this series, and they own them lifetime. But this Oklahoma team, how bad are they missing Lincoln Riley and Norman right now?
Oh.
Serious question. Serious question. Brett Venables. What you doing, boo? I don't know. It's not good.
They are, they wish Lincoln would come back overnight and teleport. That's for sure.
The problem too here is that I want to hold reserve. I mean, he's a defensive-minded coach, right? Who inherited a team from Lincoln Riley that he couldn't wait to get the hell away from. Oh yeah, and took their quarterback too, by the way. Just kind of like hightailed it out to Cali. So thanks for that, Lincoln Riley. But I'm with you, Cal. Oklahoma State, it is. You can't put a number on how important a guy like Spencer Sanders means to that team. He had to come. He wasn't supposed to play last week. Had to come off the bench and get the win there. And you could see everybody else elevated their game. As long as he's going, and I'm with you. Give me as many points as possible. And speaking of points, guys, sometimes there's just a principle bet. And there is a total right now with Iowa and Minnesota that is just nauseating. We talked about last week, Cal on Bet on it, how absurd the total got with Wake and North Carolina. It's 31 and a half with these two teams. It is now, guys, officially the lowest total in FBS history since the tracking began in 1995. I mean, really? I get it. It's no snow. It's just going to be cold. It's not like it's any sort of crazy weather event. 31 in principle alone is just absolutely disgusting, Drew. I have no doubt, and Iowa's offense has been better the last couple of weeks. We may get a pick six. You may get a bunch of, turnovers that are going to give you easy field. So many things can go well for this thing to go over 31 and 31 and a half. There is no way I can leave that on the board without not taking the over on principle alone, Drew.
Oh, lowest total on the board since 95. That's a crazy stat. It's not even a military academy.
Exactly. And even then, I'd be looking at the over here. Minnesota, they can both run the ball. Yes, the defenses are pretty good, but again, the defenses are going to set up short fields, which are going to set up easy points. I mean, you don't need a lot to go right in order to be able to get over 31 points here. So I'll hold my nose, I'll shotgun a few Vivas, and I'll wait till the thing hits 32, and then I'll never watch it again.
Joe, it's funny you said, so I don't disagree with you. There's not many things that really have to go right to go over that game. I did a show this morning on the Believe Network, and I gave out Iowa +3, and I think I opened up with something like along the lines of, if you're looking for a high-octane, high offensive powered game, you are tuning into the wrong one this Saturday at 4:00.
No.
But I don't disagree with the play.
No. Gotta go over, Drew.
Absolutely. I mean, high octane, that's not happening, but yeah, that
I
is
would have described it.
Low total for sure. We got best bets coming up at the end of the show, guys. Did want to open it up, just to kind of hit the chat box, and we do appreciate everybody reaching out on Twitter at Hustle Show Pod of different games you all wanted to hear about, and if we had any opinions. So we got a lot of people in the chat box. Really appreciate you. If you can smash that like button. Again, we're brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer and WagerTalk.com. So yeah, we'll just hit a couple here. Anybody see any you like? I'll tell you this one by Rudy. Can you guys talk about the Texans and Commies? I personally took Texas +3.5 4-unit best bet. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you, Rudy, for chiming in. And I'll tell you, this one qualifies for that stat I was talking about, 16-42 to the under trend of home dogs. That was on the short list. So that's why I would look towards the under in Washington and Houston in the NFL on Sunday. So that's what I would throw in there, Rudy, for that one. But if anybody's got any on that or any other chat box or the Twitter questions that we got, I know Utah and Oregon was one of them.
Who's the quarterback? Isn't Carson Wentz available now to come back?
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying.
If they do that, I'm going to lose
I'm-
my
They can't do
mind.
that.
I'm just saying.
I know.
He's available.
Come on. Ron Rivera, as boneheaded as he is, sometimes he's not going to do that. They just put all the chains on him. They're all backing coach. And Tyler Heineke was smashing Bush lattes, wearing every single guy on that Plains chain. Like, you don't sit the hot hand. You just beat a divisional rival as a double-digit underdog. So now that you put that out there, now I don't even want to talk about this game, because that just completely destroys the narrative I was about to go with.
He's off the injury list, so he's back in.
Yeah, well, so is Jameis Winston. And look what Dennis Allen's doing to me.
Let's hope they go that route, because I would literally throw up if I had a ticket and I saw Carson Wentz. They roll him out there. That would annoy me to no end. But to his credit, Ron Rivera he was asked this by the on his at the podium yesterday, and he was like, "Well, listen, I'm not a doctor. I don't know, he's already starting to lay that out, not where he's our starting quarterback. It's, let's see how it progresses." So he's already building in the excuse, Drew, where if they don't go to him, they don't have to hear it, because he wasn't ready to commit to him yesterday. I don't think he's going to be ready to commit to him by Sunday either.
Makes a lot of sense. Zeno commenting, Heineke is locked in as the starter. So
boom, there you go.
Yeah, Joey in the chat box as well. Thanks for chiming in, guys. Bunch of questions in here. Washington Huskies, Kelly. You didn't moneyline sprinkle it though, no?
Or we talked about this on every game on the board. Every single week, I have this notebook. I'm like a weird notebook junkie, and so you can see how far ahead of the season I am. I don't even want to go back. Every year I go back and I look at my spreadsheets and I review. If I go back and look at all the moneyline dogs that I didn't moneyline this year, or I didn't put in my parlay and went a different direction, I think I would just fall off of, I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
Fall off you don't know.
Fall off the wagon. I already did that.
Drew, I had one that was, I think, was requested in the Twitter comments, and that was the Army-UConn game.
Ooh,
yes. And Army is laying 10 here, and I think Joe and I will agree with this one here. I think there's a major letdown spot for UConn. Coming off an upset over Liberty. They have the 86th ranked best D, but allowed the 99th most in yards. They struggle big time against the option. Drew, as you know, Army runs the option very well. All in, I think Moore has done a really, really amazing job with this UConn team, but I think it's a really, really bad spot. And the poor run D leads me to take Army here in this one, -10.
Can't
Tough
argue.
to disagree.
Can't argue. Nope.
I mean, that was a great win last week for UConn. I mean, he's done wonders. I mean, I'm from Connecticut, as you guys know, and this team has been in the trash the last, I don't know, probably since I've moved to Boston, about 10 years now. And they were up and coming when I had just graduated from college. Remember they played in that, I think it was the Fiesta Bowl versus Oklahoma. And then Edsel left. He went to Maryland. Then he came back, and it was an absolute train wreck. And it's been a train wreck ever since his second stint. So UConn is on the right track here, but I think it's a really good spot to lay the points here with Army.
Yeah, they're a lot better this year. I mean, for whatever reason. And you bring up, since you went to, moved out of Boston, I remember being in high school football right before they got good, and they were down recruiting in like Broward County and Dade. It was like, oh, UConn's around. And then sure enough, they're good. And then they made a New Year's Six bowl, I believe, versus
Oklahoma. I think it was the Fiesta. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is right.
First time 2015 was the last bowl eligible UConn team. They stormed the field. Did you see all 8 students?
Yeah.
They stormed the field. It was
football.
It's fantastic.
Joe, you'll like this memory, Joe. I was at the game. This is probably like 2008, 2009 when UConn beat West Virginia when it was Pat White, Noel Devine.
Yep.
When it was the Big East.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
We stormed the field. It was a great win. And then I was watching I saw the Liberty highlights. I was like, oh man, this is not, come on.
That's awesome.
Have a little class here.
That is awesome.
One of the tweets also was requesting the Utah-Oregon game. Mm-hmm. I don't have a big opinion here. I really don't. Obviously, big question mark with Bo Nix. How healthy is he? Is something we got to really consider here. Oregon's defense is not the greatest. And so thus I don't really want to lay points with them. But man, Utah, I was pretty high on Utah to start the year. And maybe, just maybe they're not as good as we once thought that they were. Oregon's, to me, basically the team that's catapulted themselves since that Washington State game. I mean, they've been on an absolute tear. Of course, as we just mentioned, the Washington game, they got stunned in overtime by the Huskies. I think they bounced back here, though, and that was kind of my concern and why I played the Huskies is maybe in a look-ahead spot. But, yeah, I know I could see why people like Utah here catching a couple of points, but this looks like if it turns into a shootout like the comment says, I don't think that's good news for Utah. Utah, to me, is not the type of team that wins in a shootout.
Kel, I'm with you. I like the Ducks a lot this weekend. This is a double revenge game. If you don't remember, Utah blew them out both teams last year. The second time being in the Pac-12 championship game.
Yep.
And honestly, we wouldn't even really be having this Dan Lanning made the worst decision I've seen in a very long time last week. He went for it, Joe. What was it? His own 35, his own 38 tie game. Oregon would still be in the conversation here for the playoff.
Yep.
I do think Eugene's a really tough place to play. Kel, like you said, Utah team wasn't what everybody thought they were going to be. That high-powered offense should get rolling, and I think Oregon will take it to them here.
Sidewise, I don't have too much on it, guys, but I agree with where Leg Show Magazine is going with this. I think it's going to be a shootout. I mean, Kelly, to your point, Utah, I don't think this is their best team, but mainly because of their defensive front. And that's exactly, how Oregon can do really well because Bo Nix, he's excelled so much in the Conference of Champions, getting outside of the SEC West Division. And this isn't that same Utah defensive front that used to dominate the Pac-12. That's why I think Oregon's going to be able to move the ball. And Cam Rising's back healthy, so I think they're going to score as well. Seeing this in the low 60s, I just think it's too low. I like it over late on Saturday, too.
Joe, didn't you give out the under? Or lean towards the under? Sorry, I can't remember the whole.
Yeah, no. So the thing is, you got 2 offensive linemen and Bo Nix banged up, and Lanning has already been like, I ain't giving you guys anything. I'm not telling you anything. He's doing the old Gundy where it's like state secrets here. If they're less than 100%, my whole thought process was there is if you like or lean towards they ain't going to be healthy enough and Utah's the advantage. I don't think Utah wants a shootout. Utah's going to run the ball. When it comes to Oregon's defense, they're not very good against the pass. They are pretty good against the run. Utah is pretty much top 2 or 3 in the Pac-12 in every defensive statistical category. I would worry about Bo Nix throwing the ball around a yard if he's not 100% and he's missing offensive linemen here. It was 23-0 at the half last year when they beat him the second time in that Pac-12 game. I just think we're going to see way more running than throwing in this game, especially if Bo Nix is hurt. I think they're just going to hand the ball off Utah and let's win it in the trenches. We know Oregon, they can hang with anybody at home, but I worry that Bo Nix's health is going to be a problem this week. And if it is, where does that game go, Drew, if I'm holding an over ticket? That's what worries me.
Yeah.
Oh, great point. I mean, quarterback injury, that's kind of across
especially
the board.
him.
Yeah. Hey,
that's what worries me.
Something to watch for sure. Saturday night, degenerate special time slot, though.
Drew, Sonny Potts here. I know you guys talked about it on Bet on It here. This is a game I'm terrified of, is the Baylor TCU game.
You gotta talk about it.
I want to be with you so badly. Being at that game last week just really, really ripped my soul open. It was the worst game I've seen them play, I think, ever, Joe. And I've seen some terrible seasons from Baylor. Terrible. Yep. The spot, it screams Baylor, right, Joe? But I mean, was it a look ahead spot? Yeah, of course it was for Baylor, right? They were absolutely looking ahead and think they could, they might have been able to kind of sleepwalk through that game. I think they were really excited when they saw they were going to get Adrian Martinez. Then I say knock them out of the game, and they do knock them out of the game.
Yeah, he goes. I think he said, "I hope they kill him," because the guy behind me goes, wasn't somebody just yelling to kill him? And now look. And it was, Will Howard. And I was like, it's his fault over there in the beanie. He's the one that wanted Adrian dead. And now guess what? You got your wish.
Yeah.
And this is not what I wanted. I wanted to be Adrian because I'm looking for the next 2 years with Will. But I will take that. Thank you, Chris. Because at least now K-State gets to go to the Big 12 championship game after they beat the shit out of West Virginia and KU.
It's going to be so public, Drew. I mean, the public is going to love TCU. And
how can they not?
To me, Dave Aranda, after getting his ass whooped with Baylor, I mean, you know him, DC. He's going to have those guys ready to roll. Plus, they've been much better at home than they had on the road. If they were on the road at TCU, we'd be having a different conversation. But at home and another road game, how many more times do we expect this TCU team to show up? It's just another terrible spot for him.
Yeah. Joe, I don't disagree. You're going to see a completely different – I'm not going to sit here and say Baylor, but you will see a completely different Baylor team.
I believe
Saturday.
so. Yeah.
I can absolutely promise you that for sure.
And Joe, to your point, I mean, when you're talking TCU, it's -2.5 on the road. We just saw Baylor last weekend. It's almost like the market's telling us something, right? Like, watch out when it does that. It did it last week with Texas. Texas was -7. So week after week, it's been the public is on TCU, and sure enough, they keep cashing.
They keep getting the cash.
But this is what doesn't make sense. They don't go from being a 7.5 point underdog on the road to -2.5. Come on, that is those do not correlate.
Correct.
Let's just say hypothetically, let's say K-State did still win, but it was that final score prediction that I had, 34-31. Baylor's offense went balled out. K-State's offense went balled out, and it was just that last minute, whoever kicked the field goal won.
Yep.
What would you think that line would be? Pick them?
Yeah, I'd say pick -1. Yeah, pick. Yeah,
somewhere.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's my point. So this is, and then it came 3. I said, I'm betting the 3. I sat right there in the back of the car, bet the +3 as soon as it came out, and now it's 2.5. And the whole world's on TCU. Listen, if TCU can beat Baylor, my God, go for it. Listen, I'm with Charles. I don't fully trust Baylor. They did not pass the eye test last week, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Iowa State gets a lot of credit in the Big 12 for their defense.
Yeah.
K-State finally had a fully healthy defense last week, and not one, but 2 cornerbacks finally showed out. One even got Big 12 breakout player of the week. What was his last name? Cornerback. I'd have to look it up because that's how much I haven't even paid attention because he's been so irrelevant all year. And he got an interception late, and I believe a couple of touchdown saving tackles. So what are you going to do? I think personally, K-State deserves a lot more credit for that win. There was a lot of anger built into that, especially after their slow start versus Texas, which I said would happen if Quinn Ewers played a good game. Listen, that team is different with Will Howard under center. They want Will to be their guy. Yep. It's just how it is.
Yep. Hey, Joe and Kel, the three of us watch the Big 12 every week, every year for how long? I love how it's like, yes, TCU has proven us wrong every single week, but I'm sorry. A team just doesn't come out that's not named Oklahoma 5-6 years ago and just run the table and go to the Big 12 championship, win and go to the Final Four. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. TCU is going to lose. They will not win out and win the Big 12 championship. You can mark my words right now.
I think they're going to run the ball. I think Baylor is going to run the ball down TCU's throat and say, okay, we're going to own time of possession. It's not like TCU's defense is some sort of, not world beaters. They did a decent job against Texas, but Texas had a lot of success running the ball last week against this front.
Yeah.
Now they got to go back on the road again. I think Dave Aranda is going to have the guys ready to go here. I'm not saying they're going to blow them out.
Sure.
They're going to win by a field goal, Drew. They're going to kick a field goal, and that's it.
TCU can win out. If they beat Baylor, fine. They're going to beat Iowa State, fine.
Yeah.
TCU, if K-State beats the crap out of West Virginia like they should, and at least keeps it respectable against KU, win by a touchdown, I think that one will probably be 7.5, depending on what happens with KU this week. I'd make K-State a 7.5 point home favorite to KU, which is just mind-boggling because I'm so used to saying 34.5 and 28.5 and 31.5. But I can promise you right now, K-State will be a 1.5 point favorite in Dallas on a neutral field for the Big 12 championship game.
Give me K-State all day if that happens. I will absolutely love the Wild.
You saw them in person.
Are going to say,
were they
come
for real?
In.
Oh, they're for real.
The water's
they're for real.
You've been betting TCU all year long. I can promise you. And they are going to get obliterated. I'm not talking about TCU. I'm talking about TCU backers taking the points.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
I've seen this show too many times. This is the same thing with K-State, Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game when I was in college.
Yep.
K-State was a 3.5 point underdog. Oklahoma goes out, scores a touchdown. That was all she wrote. 35-7 final score, and everybody from Oklahoma just stood there with their jaws on the floor. That's actually the first year I started keeping track of spreads in the games to make it more entertaining because I went to so many. And I remember being like, this is really weird. That was when it was in St. Louis of all places.
Right.
And it was a terrible neutral site, and we had the best time. But I remember I'm like, I think we have a chance against Oklahoma, and everybody's like, you're an idiot. We're not going to that game. I'm like, the spread's 3.5. So, yeah, I do think that's where TCU falters 100%. I joked with Joe on Bet on It as far as that goes. I said, I hope they win 21-20, so that K-State can get their revenge for knocking out both quarterbacks. All jokes aside, I did take the 3 with Baylor.
11-4 against the number as an underdog, Drew. That's what Baylor is.
Also, don't forget, Baylor was the favorite last week. They were the slight favorite. So something to also consider. I agree. Yep. Dave Aranda, lots of more questions about other games in the chat. We can talk about a couple of those if you guys want to, because I'm sure these guys are tired of me and CT and Joe's Homer Big 12 talk.
Definitely Homer.
We did get a couple comments with the segment, but Big 12 conversation is very exciting to me, and I know a lot of listeners like it as well. It's almost like the most entertaining conference the last couple of years. I don't know why.
It's just been such a fuckery, Drew. Everything is so mixed up. Literally, CT and I were talking about different scenarios and what needed to happen the last 5 weeks. It has been outside of TCU. Again, I'm going to give them credit. Outside of them, they basically got to control their own destiny. K-State needed Texas to lose last week, which obviously TCU gets in. We needed to beat Baylor. They lost at West Virginia when Shaping got knocked out of the game, but then they came back and they beat Oklahoma. It's just been such a spider web of scenarios leading up to this that's why I think it makes it more exciting. Just because with the SEC, it seems like it's always a 2-horse race, right? Tennessee got in a little bit this year. LSU's kind of coming out of left field since losing to Florida State, who looks pretty good now, and Tennessee. So it's like there's a little bit of dynamics, but like let's look at the Pac-12. I mean, it's the teams who we thought were going to be there. Let's look at the Big Ten. It's the teams we thought were going to be there. That's the one good thing about TCU doing this is that at least it adds an element of excitement or something different because it's not Texas or Oklahoma. It's not Oklahoma State. It's not Baylor. So I will give them credit for that much. At least there's a different dynamic. And shout out Sonny Dykes. He's done a really good job in Fort Worth. But eventually the clock strikes 12 for Cinderella.
Well, let's be reasonable. Big 12, ACC, Pac-12, Drew. Somebody's getting left out of the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
more than one.
Or maybe all three, right? Maybe it's just Big Ten, SEC. We get two.
If they let in 3 SEC teams, I need you to stop right now. That is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're not letting in 3 SEC teams.
Disgusting.
There's no way.
There won't be 3. I think there's going to be 2, though. And
there's always 2. I shouldn't say there's always 2. It always feels like they let in 2.
So Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, and Tennessee. And three conferences. I mean,
terrible.
They're going to be outside.
But Michigan will have to beat Ohio State next week.
Right.
Or they lose and then beat them in the Big Ten championship game is what you're saying. They're going to let both in?
The path is there. I mean, let's face it.
Because there's no way when K-State wins the Big 12 that they're going to let K-State in with 3 losses.
That's what I'm worried about. Listen, they have TCU at 4. They're looking for a reason to drop them to 11. Like TCU lose a game, they're going to go from 4 to like number 13. That's what the committee is telling you right now.
Yeah, I'm an SEC guy, and if there's 3 SEC teams, that
would ruin it. Absolutely ruin it.
I hope.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty glad that we're going to see a expanded playoff, if you will, here in the future. There was somebody tweeted something this morning about what a 32 team playoff would look like, and it looked awesome. I'll say that much. I may, if I can find it, I'll retweet it. But I was like, okay, this is great. CT, the comment section wants to know what you've got in action tonight.
Ooh. Yeah, I gave out one last week that wasn't my play, and I'll give out another one that tonight that's not my play. I just backed this friend of mine who's pretty good with the action, and I have Western Michigan plus 10 over Central Michigan. The game's at 8:00 Eastern. It's a very well-respected bettor out in Vegas, so that's who he likes tonight. So I am following him. If you need something, it's throw a couple shekels on it. He likes it quite a bit.
Okay.
Battle of directional Michigan schools tonight in action.
We got a good friend over at WagerTalk that likes the under in that game tonight, 49.5, Mr. Penn. So he told us under 50 in that game here tonight.
50 I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good stuff, guys. No, great convo. Huge shout out to the chat box as well for firing out some questions. Hopefully, I know we didn't get to them all, but next week we'll try to get to as many as possible as well. Right before Thanksgiving, we got our sponsor here, sponsored by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Grow up, drink tequila. Viva Grapefruit, Kelly and Vegas's favorite there. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Hustle as the coupon code takes 10% off. Check out WagerTalk.com. A lot of free analysis there for picks as well. Guys, we got best bets, final thoughts for the show going around the horn. CT Bets 16 on Twitter. Chris Thurston, SportsMap Radio, right here on the Hustle. CT Bets, man, any final thoughts for the show? And do you have a best bet?
I do, Drew, and I like this one a lot, and I'm going to go to the NFL here. And that's the Dallas Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings. Big NFC game here Sunday afternoon. And we'll look to see if the Vikings can pull another rabbit out of their hat this weekend, right? It took Justin Jefferson, one-handed catch of the year, complete mental breakdown from the Bills that led to a defensive score in the final minute, and an OT, a pickoff in the end zone from Josh, a throw from Josh Allen, and an OT win in Buffalo. What's next for Kirk and company, who have now moved their record to an NFC tying best, 8-1. Props to Kelly for calling that she liked the Vikings in the beginning of the season. They look pretty good right now. One thing I can tell you, Joe, Drew, Kel, they're going to lose at home this weekend to the Cowboys in a huge letdown spot. The Cowboys just flew a 14-point fourth quarter lead to the Packers this past Sunday, which I was very excited about. Despite all that, Dallas have still been one of the best point spread teams in the NFL. They've covered 19 of its last 26 games. And the Vikings are going to be a little dinged up here. They might be without two of their best three cornerbacks. Cameron Dantzler, I believe it is. He's definitely going to be out with a high ankle sprain. And then they also might be missing their starting offensive tackle, Christian Darrisaw. I think the boys are rightfully favored on the road here, and the boys can play well on both sides of the ball, and I expect them to rebound this weekend and play a complete game. I like Dallas to take care of business pretty comfortably, actually, here this weekend. Get the road win and send this lucky Vikings team to 2 losses. Play on Dallas, -1. Best bet for CT.
I love that.
Bet 16 on Twitter.
The Vikings, Drew, you ready for this? The Vikings have won 7 straight games, all within 1 score. Like,
listen, I will take it, okay?
I mean,
I will take it and run.
How much longer?
Listen to the TCU and the NFL.
Thank you.
Relax.
Thank you. Yes. Yep.
Just one I happen to be correct on, so I'm going to write it.
Yep.
Drew, I had one more because that I want to give out real quick, and it's Arkansas. I won't give an analysis. It's Arkansas +3 at home this weekend versus Ole Miss. So that's a little bonus for you. KJ Jefferson comes back too.
Is he coming? Perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I was sitting at breakfast with CT, just tweeted out my card. Everything looked good. All of a sudden, no KJ Jefferson. The entire comment section was like, oh, no. And then we just looked at each other, and I'm like, you're kidding. And, of course, it pushed. I'll take the push, but still. Like,
I don't know what the hell took him so long to go to that quarterback. What the hell took him so long to go to the quarterback? That dude couldn't throw. Like, what are you doing?
How you doing? Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Low score. The under was the play there. Speaking of unders, guys, if you check the weather in Buffalo, New York for this weekend, lake effect snow warning, under 30 degrees, snow in the forecast, winds as well, 20 miles per hour. Might be done by the time the Bills play, but you know who plays on Saturday? The Buffalo Bulls at home against Akron in Maction. It's been a big move, but 46.5 due to weather relation in late November, mid-November here in upstate New York is something I still like to the under. Akron Zips have been an under trender here. They're not very good. Maybe look to bet Buffalo. If the weather's that bad, I don't want to lay 2 touchdowns. So I'm betting it under, guys. High water mark 46.5 under in Akron in Buffalo for my best bet for the show. Joe Raineri helping us out with Trig not in here. Producer extraordinaire, host extraordinaire. Check him out, WagerTalk. Joe, do you have a best bet and any final thoughts here?
Yeah, I'll do it in my Trig voice. Let's see if we can do that.
A Trig voice? I mean,
all right, guys, let me just say that Syracuse, all right, I don't know if you guys know this, but Syracuse, I just don't understand it. They're getting 14 points. I don't know what's happening.
Sorry about that.
No, keep going. I just thought, and I was thinking maybe this could possibly happen.
You know what I was thinking, CT? You know what I was thinking, and it just blows my mind. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I played them, and then all of a sudden they won, and I was like, oh my god, like what happened?
Oh my god, I'm gonna start
crying. All right, so we got. I'm sorry. We got. The best bet for me is I'm just going to say right off the bat, I got one college. I love the Ravens in the first half against their old friend who they just absolutely love to bully, and that is Baker Mayfield in Carolina. They're coming off the bye. Lamar has been one of the most profitable first half quarterbacks with this Ravens team, who the defense is the healthiest it has been all year long. Roquan Smith back, the secondary. The biggest problem with the Ravens has been their inability to close games out in the second half. That is not going to happen against Baker Mayfield and this team. Nobody knows Baker better. This defense is ready to make a push here, guys. Right into January, right into the playoffs. The Ravens are a real team. They ain't the Falcons, and there is no way on God's green earth that Carolina is beating the Ravens or even keeping it close. It's a double-digit win in the game, and it is absolutely going to be a double-digit lead going into the break over there. I expect Lamar, that offense, and that team to hammer Baker Mayfield and welcome him back to the NFC North. Welcome back here. We'll see how much Baker, how much fun he has in that one. I think that's going to be the most lopsided blowout game of the weekend there. Ravens first half getting it done.
Baltimore, like it, Joe. Great breakdown. Even better impersonation of Trig.
I can't.
Awesome.
My face literally
Thanks,
hurts.
guys. Thanks.
I am laughing because the comments were like, "Do Tony Finn Martian voice? Can you do the press?" Now look at you started. Now everybody's gonna want everybody at Wager Talk's voice.
Yeah,
Don't do
we
mine.
can do that. We can do it.
Because I'll kill you. All jokes aside, I guess it's time for me to give out a best bet, and I didn't come very prepared. Drew Martin bets squeezed me in for every game on the board. Earlier, I gave out Illinois on Bet on It as my best bet. I just gave you guys Oklahoma State, which is supposed to be my best bet on that show. And I've got some work to do. So what I'm just going to do is give you guys my parlay list. And that is because this is what I did on Saturday Spaces. And if you listen to it, it went way better than my parlay did. So do with this what you will. The dogs that I'm currently looking at Wednesday at basically 7 o'clock Eastern. Kansas, Oklahoma State, Duke, Houston, Stanford, Western Kentucky. Those are the around a touchdown underdog. I've got to narrow it down, but those 6 are the ones I'm looking at. Kansas, Oklahoma State, Duke, Houston, Stanford, Western Kentucky. As far as who I'm going to try to make a case for to win the game outright. Kansas looks like it might be a little bit of a square dog, but obviously it would be a play against Texas. We've already went over Oklahoma State. Duke, Drew and I talked about that in every game on the board. Houston, I like this ECU team, but God, we've got to see something from this Houston team. Stanford speaks for themselves. They've been like this all season long. And Western Kentucky, sorry, Drew Martin bets. Marco and I talked about it earlier. He gave it out as his barking dog. He said, all right, if Marco and I like it, it may be the sharp square side, but maybe Auburn, Alabama is looking ahead to, that's right, the real Alabama.
Yeah, it could be a look ahead spot. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Just have you looked at their schedules though, Kelly?
Yeah, Western Kentucky is just not that good. They're just not. They're just not that good. That's my problem. But I hate to bring it to neither are your Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, I know, but hey, I'll be there. I'm worth at least a half a point, guys. So
you're going?
Are you going?
I'm trying to tell as many people I'm going, so it like makes me go even more. But yeah, I'm
just
supposed to be going. Yeah,
what do you do, Drew? It's not like you have that much work to do. You should just go.
Yeah, really. I mean,
Drew, I tell you what, you want to switch because I'm going to be in Buffalo for the Browns game. Do you want to go there and I'll go to Auburn? You want? No,
I'm
okay,
good.
all right.
You're going. Patrick, you're going to that.
He's gonna freeze his ass off.
Are you really going, or is that a joke?
No, he's going with Carmine Bianco.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, right behind
you live
the
in
Bills
Florida.
bench.
Do you
I know.
have that,
I
a
know.
jacket and everything?
The only reason I'm going is there was
Joe?
you have no idea the amount of money I just spent on winter clothes, like ski suits, ski boot. Like I'm never going skiing ever again for the rest of my life.
And have mountains
I got $3,000 worth of pants. If you guys want them, let me know if you need to rent any out.
So you almost have to go so you could get it. At least one use out of it.
Now I have to go. Exactly. Now I have to go.
You gotta go. Oh, that's great.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. He's Joe Raineri. Impersonations. Oh, he's awesome, guys. Check him out at Joe Raineri on Twitter.
Oh, my
Did you get a text from your mom,
great.
Chris? Because I did. She said it's the best show she's ever got to watch. She loved it. I know that, but she also didn't know what shotgunning Aviva meant. So I'll have to show her next time I see her because she's always super impressed with my drinking abilities.
I love it.
Yeah. All kidding aside, I love Trig, but he just drives me somewhat nuts all the time. He's coming to visit me this weekend, but this was a peaceful show.
Awesome. Thanks to everybody in the chat box.
My face still hurts.
Kelly Stewart, Joe Raineri, Chris Thurston, brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Deliciously inviting Blanco Tequila Seltzer. Only 88 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. 4.5% ABV. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Hustle at checkout. The coupon code takes 10% off. Guys, if you're looking for free plays this weekend, check out WagerTalk.com. Bunch of them up there. And also World Cup. starting next week. A lot of good soccer handicappers as well. Enjoy the college football, NFL, college basketball. We will be back next Wednesday. Kelly Stewart, Joe Raineri, Chris Thurston. I'm Drew Martin. Smash that like button. Comment below. Cash those tickets.